These are our new Blue Tongue Skink enclosures.
So a couple months ago, I went over to Ron St. Pierre and Heather Moy's place, and they inspired us to keep all of our blue tongues outside because I saw how well they were doing outside over there. This is what happened here.
So we decided to build our own. All of these cages are about 6 foot long by 3 feet wide by 2 feet tall. And then inside the enclosure itself, we have a bottom rock layer. So it helps with the drainage. We're in Florida, it rains a lot, so this helps a lot with the drainage. Then we have a mulch topsoil so they can, because they love to burrow. Below
the rocks, there's some of this PVC coated fencing as well, or not fencing, chicken wire.
Is it called mesh? It's just called like, is it galvanized?
All right. Yeah, and below the rocks, there's actually a layer of this mesh as well. That way they can't dig out. That's very important when you're keeping any animals outside because, you know, most of the time these animals could dig and find their way out. So you got to make sure you have a layer of that on the bottom, rocks on top, and then mulch.
And each enclosure itself has multiple hides, so all of these blue tongues can hide for themselves. They can also burrow if they want, and there's also an elevated platform. That platform does 2 things. One, it provides a basking spot for the animals, and it also provides a hide underneath it. If there's any rain, anything like that, or any shade if they want, they could hide right under there.
Now you see these mulch bags here? This is gonna act as an isolation. Once it starts getting cold over here, the blue tongues will actually burrow underneath this, and this is gonna help insulate them. And we're also gonna add a clear plastic like shutter up here. That way it creates like a greenhouse effect and it keeps this dry and warm.
Yeah, and that'll only be on during the winter months, just because it helps keep them warm. Because even though we are in South Florida, it can get pretty cold and also can get wet. And that's where things can be a little dangerous. So we're gonna cover that, and then in the summertime, it's gonna come right off. All right, now let's go pair up some skinks.
All right, guys. All right, so that is a giant day gecko, and we actually got this really sick vivarium set up by my buddy Cal. Follow him and ask him to do yours if you want one. We have some fine spot bumblebee dart frogs in here. There's one right there. And these are not the regular bumblebee. These actually have more intricate patterns, and they are some of my favorite dart frog species in the world. But you could actually cohabitate dart frogs with giant day geckos in a big vivarium just like this, and they will leave each other alone. They occupy different parts of their little ecosystem, and I just think it's one of the coolest things ever when you can have 2 different species housed together.
So this is kind of how we keep the blue tongues now. We've been keeping them like this in racks for many, many years, very successfully. Since now we have the space and the land, we want to give these guys a bigger enclosure outdoors. These animals are gonna absolutely love it, so we want to give them the best life possible. This is a white northern, not the ivories, but this is a nice white northern. She has red genetics with her, so I want to try to make some nice high white and red animals. And then another female that he's gonna go with is one of my favorites, one of my favorite productions ever. This is a beautiful, what we call tricolor Swedish. She's got a lot of speckling, just like that male does, so I want to make that with a high red coloration as well. Let's put them outside.
All right, so this is our first attempt at pairing up a trio of northerns. Hopefully they get along. Hopefully we don't get any ripped limbs or anything, but you know, we have plenty of places to hide, plenty of places to get away from each other. So that should be good. All right, so this is one of my favorite blue tongues that Manny has over there. And this girl is actually gonna go to the Marukis that are, it's like a hypo or maybe like a T positive albino that we have. So hopefully we're gonna make some really, really cool animals. And I think that, you know, that's gonna be ultimately the future of the Blue Tongue Skinks once they start mixing and making all these different kinds of morphs.
So this is the Maruki David was talking about. This is a possible hypo or albino. Don't really know what it is, but it's definitely different. We're gonna pair him up to that very nice orange girl, and hopefully make some heads and then some future visuals. Yeah, spicy boy. So one of their defense mechanisms is actually to puff up like that and shoot out that tongue. That is their only defense mechanism that they really have. Is make themselves as big as possible, open up that tongue, try to intimidate them. And as you can see, he doesn't have a full blue tongue. So the Indonesians do not have that full blue tongue, while the Northerns, the Australians, do have a full solid blue tongue, where they get their name Blue Tongue Skink.
So one thing to keep in mind, guys, is that we are pairing all these animals up during the winter months. I mean, it's Florida, so it's not very cold, but this is the time that their metabolism slows down and they're actually going to be more receptive towards each other because they're not eating as much, they're not as active. This girl here is actually one of my favorite girls that we have. Look how much red she has. She is like almost just completely covered in red and orange. And this girl,
that's a White Walker baby. She's very white, but she's also got a lot of red genetics. And then this male, these actually have been paired before and produced some of the nicest reds I've ever produced. So gonna try round 2 with these, hopefully produce some killer babies just like her.
Yeah, and over the next few weeks and stuff, we're gonna have to keep a close eye on them to make sure they're actually compatible with each other. There's enough visual barriers in here and enough hides that if they are having an issue, they could kind of like just, you know, get away from each other, cool down, and then hopefully that they could coexist without a problem.
So this group is the hypocalico group. David has the hypocalico male right there. It's a trait that came out of Europe. And here we actually have an outcross. So this was a hypocalico to a normal, and it really brightens up the animal. So I'm really interested to see what happens, especially when we put it something like this, something red-orange. So that's gonna be this group, and I'm really excited for this one.
Yeah, me too. As long as they don't kill each other.
So this is one of our best yellow groups. This is the male David's holding, is called Amber. He's produced some of my best, absolute brightest and boldest animals over the past few years. Look at him, he's absolutely killer. He's gonna go with another crazy Swedish female. And this girl might not look like much, but this is a Homer line female, and these two have actually paired up before and made some of the best babies I've ever made. I actually have 4 holdbacks from this one pairing. That's how much I like them. So these guys are gonna be some crazy babies. Nice he looks. He's the best, dude. Look at that.
All right, guys, over the next few weeks, we will keep you updated on how the blue tongues are doing. This is our first time putting them outside, so, you know, we got to be very careful with what happens here, but we'll keep you guys updated. Maybe we'll do a later update video. Yeah, we're excited.
And if you like our content, make sure you follow us on all of our social media platforms. We got it all. Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Snapchat. I swear there's probably Vine in there somewhere. We got everything. So make sure you guys follow us. And until next time, guys.